And I remember just saying to myself, God, I don't want to be a hindrance to my own blessing. As I mentioned, typically I'm not interested. I'm just not even gonna give you a chance. I just don't get into it and get emotions and all that. But I'm sure God had plans. Obviously, here we are after almost 12 years. God had plans. And so I had to just let it be and just let God deal with me and speak to me.
Yeah.
And he did. He met me where I needed to be. And I think we went back, we spoke, and I said, I think I'm ready to do this. And then that was that. So we back 2011. And then the rest is
History. Welcome back to the Juxtaposition Podcast. I'm your host, Nana.
And my name is Janet.
And today, guys, we have a special one.
Ooh.
Today, we have the Decembers on our podcast.
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
Hello, Nana and Janet.
We are super, super excited to have them on. I know they look a bit nervous. They're not usually on the screen or on camera.
They're usually giving us advice and
That's
stuff
true.
like that. But now
Behind
they're
the scenes.
in the spotlight here. And before they talk, I just want to say that these two are just amazing for our life. They give us great advice.
Great wisdom, great counsel.
Everything.
Yes.
These are the two people you need in your life and we need in our life. So welcome, guys.
Yes.
How you guys doing?
Thanks for
Thank you.
the nice intro.
Thank you for that warm introduction. Now it can only go down from
Oh
there.
my.
That's not true.
So this is Mercy December and Pastor Trevor December.
Yes.
And we've been knowing these guys,
I feel like half of my life, at least.
I think maybe my whole life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mercy lived in Shoreham, yo. Guys, Mercy lived in Shoreham. She knew my family before I was even out the womb. So it's very special that you guys are here. So I already said how you guys are doing. Janet, answer the first question.
So yeah, we're just gonna get started.
But it's the month of what?
It's the month of love.
Yes, the month
February
of love.
is where we get all the nice hearts and Valentines. There's always a Valentine's for everyone, guys. You don't have to have a boo to these Valentines. But we're featuring this couple just to kind of give us advice on love, relationships, and hopefully you guys benefit from it. So we're going to start off with, what's the story behind how you two met? Tell us the deets. Tell us.
I heard this in different variations.
I don't think I've heard it.
I heard it in different
So I'm
variations.
excited to hear it.
So we have two different versions, or
The story always goes that way.
Yeah.
Every time we ask this question, Trevor's like, well, there's two sides to the story. Well,
Yeah.
which is true. There's always a two sides to the story. But before we go through it, just want to say thank you for inviting us. And we are grateful to be here.
Yeah.
And
we're
you
in
know,
your house. We're in their lovely home as well.
to be part of your what you are doing, and just to share. I know typically, as you said, just behind the scenes, but I think sometimes this is good. So
Yeah.
here we are. Our story, Trevor. Would you like to start, Trevor? Or
I
you
can-
throw it to me?
oh yeah. So thank you guys for having us on. We're so honored and blessed to be here on the podcast.
Yes.
We're excited just to be with you guys and kind of see how God is moving in you guys' life and how you're just picking people to share stories and give their personal stories, because we all have a story, right? So we're grateful to be here tonight, and we will share a few stories of our lives. So I can go first if Mercy wants. So
That's okay.
Yeah, go
ahead.
first.
Go for it.
so how did we first?
How'd you meet?
Yeah. So Mercy and I doesn't really have like how we first met story, but Mercy and I have known each other for a number of years because we've been part of the same church and serving in the same ministry. So we've been friends with each other for a number of years, maybe about 7 or 8 years. Like we've known each other quite well. So how we first met was me kind of noticing her.
You're like, who is that?
Who's that
She look
girl?
different today.
And that's exactly what it was. It was we were at a church event, so I was already there, and Mercy had to make an entrance, so so she came in, and I was like, "Wow, Mercy looks great tonight.
Was it
She
like at a
looks
wedding or
different.
something like that?
It was just a regular church.
Oh,
I
like
think
an
it was a
event, like
Christmas.
a dress up, like
Yes.
type.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
it was
okay.
a Christmas.
It's a Christmas
Christmas
dinner
okay,
that
okay,
we were
okay.
doing at the church.
Mhm.
So I just kind of the words just came out of my mouth like spontaneously. I didn't plan for those words to come out of my mouth.
Mm.
So, but once the words came out, I couldn't take it back. So the people who were sitting there with me started commenting. So then I was like, oh, this is awkward.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just left as that comment because the people who were there with me are very close to me. So it's not like they were gonna go start talking about it. So yeah, so that happened that night, and then like after that, like the thought of Mercy kept coming to me. So I was like, oh my goodness, this is weird because I've never thought of Mercy beyond just a really good friend and someone who we minister together as friends and being part of the same ministry. So the thought kept coming to me. So I just kind of started praying about it, and then the feelings started to get stronger until a few months after I had to approach her to say, hey, there's something I want to talk to you about. Can
Yeah.
we meet? And that's how from my perspective, how
Things started.
things started on my end. So yeah,
Yeah, so I think up to pretty much what Trevor has shared, we both serve under the same ministry, and we had known each other through the ministry for, I would say, 10 years.
Wow.
And so 2010, that was a year, but this was before you came up or after you had thought about this. I was going to, so 2010 was probably when we had Haiti, the first earthquake had happened in Haiti.
Haiti mission trip.
Mission trip, which was the first for the church. And I was planning to go. It had happened in January, and the plan was for us to go in July. And so that was we were all preparing to. And Trevor had called me and asked if we can meet because he wanted to share some stuff with me. So I think maybe before then I kind of knew something was up in many ways. And one of the reasons was myself and Trevor and others, we were friends and we will talk, we will hang out. But then I started noticing I get text messages and more often than other friends, or more often than I thought it should be. So I kind of ask around, do you get phone calls or text messages from Trevor? Because it became more consistent.
Yeah.
And like, no, we're not getting text messages from Trevor. So I realized there was something up. So when he approached me to ask if we can talk, I knew that was pretty much what it was. So I think we did meet. We did meet and we hang out as friends, which we have known each other, I think, for 10 years. So Trevor, I think on that time, the day that we met is when you mentioned to me. And I was kind of thrown back, even though I kind of suspected it, because as Trevor said, we had been friends for so long, and I love Trevor as a brother in Christ and as a friend, and I also didn't think of him beyond that.
Yeah.
So it was, I think when he said to me, usually if I'm not interested, I was just not interested, but it's just something didn't let me say, I don't think I want to do this, so I'm not interested. And so I think I had said I will think about it or something like that.
Yeah.
And so we did go for the trip, and we came back and we met. So in between, I had prayed about it. We met, and I said, yeah, I think I want to try and see where this will go. And I think that's how it started. So maybe we started just talking, getting to know each other, obviously beyond friends. In a couple months, I still wasn't really sure.
How old were you guys
Oh
during this
boy.
point?
I was we're just early 30s, I
like
just say.
29, 30.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
I was 29 versus
Yeah.
30.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. So I think that year, October, I kind of went back to Trevor and said, yeah, I don't think I really I want to do this.
Edit that part out.
And I'm sure he was disappointed.
Yeah.
But I wasn't fully sure or convinced. And so personality wise, I just don't want to just do it because I want to do it.
Yeah.
My heart and my mind we're not together. And so he pretty much I just said, so I want to pray, continue to pray about it, and I come back, and that was up 2010. I think maybe a year or a little bit closer to a year. So during that, I was trying to figure this out and praying and seeking godly counsel as to if this is really what God wants for me.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing that kept coming was, which I have always known Trevor, is just his heart. He has a servant's heart. And I remember just saying to myself, God, I don't want to be a hindrance to my own blessing. As I mentioned, typically I'm not interested. I'm just not even gonna give you a chance. I just don't get into it and get emotions and all that. But I'm sure God had plans. Obviously, here we are after almost 12 years. God had plans, and so I had to just let it be and just let God deal with me and speak to me.
Yeah.
And he did. He met me where I needed to be, and I think we went back, we spoke, and I said, I think I'm ready to do this. And then that was that. So we back 2011, and then the rest is
History.
Here
Wow.
now.
So prior to that, it was like the dating phase, like the first time was how long?
Good question.
Oh, good question.
I think it's maybe about maybe a year and a half, but it was not like you would say like a dating. It was more of like,
Like
yes, we're
courting.
getting we're getting to know each other, and we're still trying to be like, are we on the same page? Like, is this something that you want us to like go full steam ahead with? So there was that, like, I guess you can say the dating period more like still kind of, there was an unsure period as well where we didn't know, or on at least on Mercy's end, like she still needed some time to kind of comprehend everything. Because even during that time when Mercy said like, yeah, I'm not sure, like I respected that, and I just kind of let it be the way it was.
Yeah.
But like Mercy said, like during that time we were still really good friends, so the communications were still going on. So we still had, like, I think maybe more of a respect and appreciation for each other, because we were both adults, right? So it wasn't. So I think we maybe during that time as well too, because I was already there, right, ready. Like I already put myself out there, so just kind of waiting for Mercy to kind of catch up to where I was in terms of like being in a relationship. So during that time, once we decided that yes, we should definitely see where God leads this relationship, that's when things started accelerating towards marriage. So during that dating period was not like we're going out every week and hanging out and getting to know each other. It was more of like maybe we might not have seen each other outside of a ministry context for weeks, right? So that was the early stages of us connecting.
Well, you're Ghanaian and you're Guyanese.
If y'all didn't know.
I almost butchered it. I don't know why I thought something else, but was there any cultural like differences or cultural thoughts where like, I don't know if this is gonna work because this person is not Ghanaian. I don't know if this is gonna work because this person is Guyanese. I don't know if my mom's gonna like this person. I don't like, what was that thought?
Yeah. What were your first impressions of, I guess, each other and what you had in mind of what you wanted?
Yeah, I would say, I guess part of it was the in between, me trying to figure myself out. As I mentioned, Trevor and I had been friends for years. So for a good 10 years, I knew, I've seen how Trevor moves as friends. So for that piece, I could guarantee that definitely, he's a good guy and he's God fearing. But the pieces maybe that I had to deal with or figure myself out was the fact that, as you said, I'm Ghanaian from West Africa, and it's like traveling from a continent to another continent. And I think when Trevor had approached me in wanting a relationship, it kind of hit me as to, well, I don't think this is really what I want. He has that servant heart and all that, but that piece that I've been always wanting, or I had thought at least, it's not part of it, and the fact that obviously he's not Ghanaian. But I also didn't ever think about the fact that maybe that's not what God wanted for me. I think it's just more of I had assumed that I will eventually marry a Ghanaian because I'm Ghanaian. I think most people think that. But later on, I think a couple years ago, I was speaking to a friend, and as I was sharing our story, she said, "Well, what made you think that will be the case? Because you also, it wasn't like your settings or your friends, your surroundings. It wasn't just solely in the Ghanaian community. So definitely that wasn't. But I just didn't think about that. So I think that was the big piece that I was struggling with, if I could be honest. Everything else that I had wanted for a man or a husband, Trevor had those in terms of the big piece was, a man of God and a servant's heart and, patient and all those pieces. But the fact that he wasn't Ghanaian or maybe an African, never thought it would be an issue, but all of a sudden it became an issue. So I think that, as Trevor mentioned, maybe for Mercy, she needed to make sure that she was ready. I think, if I could be honest with myself, that was a piece that I had struggled with. And so I had to let go and let God take over. And it took me a while to do that, right? Just struggling with the here now, the physical, but then also looking beyond what God really has in store for me. So I think it wasn't more of, so in my mind, those thoughts, I was actually dealing with those thoughts in my mind, and I needed to deal with it first to even maybe to bring it to my family. Because then I had to be convinced that this is really what I wanted, and also this is what God had for me, and that it was okay. I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. I just didn't think that this was going to be part of my story. That was just that. And but once, obviously, seeking godly advice and just trusting God, definitely those pieces that in the end it was really just physical. It's not the long term or what God really had planned for myself and Trevor. Eventually, those pieces were the questions that I had around. Well, he's from here and I'm from here, and what will family think about it? It was me going to God and say, well, if it's your will for me, then let this, if it's your will for me, because I was at that age in my life where I wasn't going to do anything other than what God wanted for me. It was more of, let's say I was 30. So I was at the age before was, okay, well, I want to get married by this age, by this, that. And God definitely had broken things in my life. And for me to know that it's not your plans, but it's my plans and my will and my wants for you. And when it happens, and I had come to that acceptance. So because I had come to that acceptance, then it was, oh God, if it's your will, even though I'm struggling with this, if your will, then show me. So throughout the relationship, it was more of that. It's not me holding on to anything anymore. I'm letting go. I've dealt with the pieces that I need to deal with. So it helped me. So as I went to God with it, it says, I saw the Lord and he answered. And pretty much that's what it was. That when I was okay with it, and when I went to my parents, God had already dealt with those pieces. So it wasn't an issue. And that's when definitely I knew that it was God's will for myself and Trevor to be on this journey that he had obviously preordained for us. That I just needed to let him help me figure it out.
Yeah. Wow, sir.
God laughs at what we want as
Right?
things for our future, and it's
Trust me.
I don't know if that's really what I had in plan, but yeah, we tend to mix up what we want and he wants, and we get stuck and confused, and that's what kind of keeps us in a rut if we don't kind of, and we're also afraid to break things and to take a break and to pray and to stop things. I think it's easier for people to continue than to take that break and think.
Definitely. And I think it's important because it took me a year.
Yeah.
A year?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. There was a good year and a half.
Jeez, Louise,
where-
I didn't even know. I thought
And
this
he
was
waited,
like a
so
month.
that means it was God ordained already.
Wow.
He knew he's gonna wait.
And we just went about life as business as usual.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
went about our business separately, and when there was time to kind of say hello, greet each other, be cordial and friendly. Like none of that changed.
Yeah.
It's just that this portion, because we're moving past like a friendship phase, so now you
Yeah.
have to deal with all the difference of nationalities and cultural background and things like that. So
Wait, Vicky, wait. Before you get to the cultural part on your side, how did you feel as a man? A year. Like, were you still like best friends with her? Did you still text her? Like,
Mercy, did you say for him to move on?
Yeah,
Never.
like,
no, no.
Because I know some people will be like, well, you can move on if you want to, or,
Yeah, because it was more for me. I want what you want for me, God, and but also was not afraid to lose it. So before then, though, to backtrack a bit, after Trevor had maybe sensed that or look at me in a different way from us being friends for 10 years, when this thought came to him, it took him 8 months, which he didn't share. It took him 8 months before he came to me. So he needed to
you need time to come
trust
to
God
well,
with it too, because I think it was a big risk, I guess, for him, because we've been friends
So
for
you're
10
saying
years.
it took you 8 months to come to tell her
Yeah.
that, oh, okay, that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah, so
That
then
makes sense,
when
that makes
he
sense.
actually then finally did, and then it was more like, okay, I need time.
Okay,
But
that
I mean,
makes
no,
sense.
eventually it took me a year. It's just because I also wanted to make sure that this is really what I wanted, and all the whatever I was dealing with in my mind, trying to figure out if this was really God will for
Yeah.
me. It took me that long, but I'm happy that I didn't rush into anything, because I just wanted to make
Facts.
sure that it was what he wanted for me and
Yeah.
that I was ready for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wasn't expecting to get an answer like when I first approached her. Like, I think it'll be fair and respectful for me to say, hey, if she say I need a couple of years to think about
Yeah.
this, then I think it would have been right for me to say, hey, take as much time as you need. Like, this is not like a easy decision that you
Yeah.
just make on the whim. Like, you have to think about this. You have to weigh the costs, like
it's
weigh like,
forever, yeah.
well, you're just kind of your own thinking is like, no, this is not what I envisioned, or this is not what I had in mind, but I have this reality in front of me, but what I'm hoping to happen is completely the opposite. So yeah, I think it's Mercy took taking that time shows like she's definitely an admirable person, someone who is like, wow, this is great. Like, and as you said, like did you say move on or anything like that? Like, there wasn't any conversation of like, oh, not interested, you should just move on. It's more of like, or all of our discussion or hangout always ended very positively. Like, there wasn't like me feeling like I was left in limbo with Mercy not giving a definite answer. Because, we all have to respect each other's space and give people time to kind of make these life changing decisions. So, and that's what maybe like we could have been able to come. What if Mercy came back a year after and say, I'm interested, but I was like, oh, sorry, like
Yeah.
I've moved on,
Yeah.
right? Like, I don't think like I approached her because she was just someone on the list that I have a list of people that if this doesn't work good with her, I have next on to the next person on the list. No, like for me to put myself out there, as Mercy said, like it took a lot of risk and courage on my part, not to brag, but yeah, because when you put yourself out there, like I said, it just happened with a thought from me. It wasn't like I had no idea where this thought came from, but then it started getting stronger and it started to build up. I was like, man, I need to do something about this. Right. So I was just acting on what I believe the Lord was kind of had placed in my heart. So because I've never seen Mercy in the light of like a relationship or being together with her before until that day.
That's a special day for men. When you're just sitting there, you're like, boom, whoa.
Eyes are open. You're like, oh, I see her now.
So one thing that was taken in from what you're saying, essentially you coming to her held a lot of weight. Like you asking her, hey, so and so, but you knew like that it may take a long time. It's like this is not what I'm not gonna get an answer like tomorrow. Like you were willing to wait a year or two because you were serious.
Yeah.
At that, I like that. So was there
Yeah.
any cultural differences on your end in terms of like?
Yeah, for me, no, there wasn't
I already
any
knew. I already knew.
cultural difference
He's
on
like,
my
yep.
end. Obviously, like when I approach Mercy, like I didn't, I have actually haven't thought of race and culture and background and things of that nature. I figure like, yeah, two people who are godly, loves the Lord,
Yeah.
they're in the same context, like honestly I didn't take notice of like, wow, there's going to be like cultural clashes, cultural differences,
Yeah.
and maybe things might be said about cultural on both sides, but
Yeah.
like I didn't
True.
even thought of any of those things. I just knew that I had to approach Mercy and express what I was feeling inside. And these cultural differences like will maybe work itself out as we go along. So
Yeah.
for me there wasn't any like cultural hindrance, or maybe even
Nice.
for my immediate family. I don't think there was any like objection to the Mercy being from a different background than I am. And by the way, I'm from a multicultural background too as well. So like, yeah, so all my mom and my sisters, all their spouses are from a different nationality. Black, just wanted to say that.
So you're
That's
following
hilarious.
in the train, so
Yeah.
it's okay.
So maybe some of the people from Mercy's camp, obviously like off the bat they would not have known this. But yeah, so Mercy would have known this, and people who were close to me would have known this. When they see like my family setting, they would see like, oh, Trevor is mixed, or
Yeah.
they would see my hair back in the days. They were like, yeah, this guy's definitely not pure Indian, right? So, but that's the thing. Like, you see someone, like, you just assume that
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
know like their family tree, right?
Yeah.
So on my end, I don't think there was any like reservation for the cultural differences.
Yeah. So I guess with the cultural differences, knowing that you guys are from two different parts of the world, how did you guys start to build that strong foundation with each other in your marriage?
I think having our faith has helped us over the years, definitely. Having God as the center of our marriage or building, that's where we started from, and that's how it has continued. Because then it's always about what would Jesus want us to do,
Yeah.
right? And that has helped. If there's been any really big differences, it has helped us to be able to be in oneness and continue in unity as God continue to use us in our marriage. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more the difference is definitely, as Mercy said, like I think the day-to-day practical things, like how you are raised in your home, that's what you will bring into your home, right? So it's kind of like learning how, okay, this is how Mercy operates. This is the kind of this is the home she grew up in. This is how they operate. This is the home I grew up in, and this is how we operate. So there's always going to be differences in the home, but as Mercy said, like what the one thing that keeps us grounded is faith in Christ. Reminding ourselves of our the big picture. The purpose is not just like the meals or how we talk to the kids or the day-to-day stuff. Like those are important, but it's not as important as kind of working together and making sure that you're on the same page. So some of the things like Mercy would do that I might not agree with or see eye to eye with her with, but I figure like, okay, that's just her way of doing things. And I hope she does the same for me as well. She does. I'm just kidding. But yeah, so just like the practical things, the day-to-day stuff, I think we differ on a little bit. But the goal is always to come to one
Yeah,
conclusion.
the kingdom mindset. Yeah.
Okay, so fast forward a little bit. Now you guys get to a point where you're married. You have 3 kids, 2 boys, 1 girl.
3 beautiful kids.
Beautiful kids.
Yeah.
How does that now play into your marriage with you trying to find time for each other, trying to be one in terms of parenting skills? How was that like the introduction to having kids the first time and until now?
Yeah, now to say a little bit, and I'm sure Trevor will add. I think for me, I'll say leaning on the Holy Spirit definitely has helped me with the day-to-day mandate of things, but also keeping our marriage together. Because as you can tell, it's quite busy. Not just 3 kids, but full-time work outside the home and ministry and the different little things that it makes life quite hectic. But the one thing is, myself and Trevor, I think we always just find time to pray, find time to connect. I think maybe a couple years ago, just trying to find different ways to still connect. So work is not really far from home, and sometimes Trevor's work has allowed him a little bit, maybe even to meet me at work at lunchtime, just so we can have that time together.
Wow, you
like
be
that.
doing that?
happened
You
here
never
and
told me
there.
about that one.
Or just when the kids go to sleep, just a little bit of time, and on our way to work when he's dropping me, and just in between my lunchtime, just finding time to communicate and taking time for each other. The little bit as we still try to manage the different seasons that marriage has brought, including having children.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just on a practical note, like, when you're married and you have the kids, be like, or at least I had the mindset that there's going to be big chunks of times when you're with Mercy with no interruption, and you're just by yourselves. But that myth has been broken and gone. So sometimes it's a small moment, like the 10 minutes to drive to work, the little 5 minutes or less conversation at lunchtime, maybe just doing something together as we're driving somewhere. Like, all those moments have now counted as time together. Obviously, it doesn't override the fact that we do need to plan those chunk of time where we're together. So we're still getting there. We're still working towards that.
Yeah.
But for now, because our kids are still at the age where they still need us like 24/7 when they're not at school. So we still have to find time during this season of life to really still do those simple things that connects us together, whether it's just praying or just connecting spiritually. We might not be able to do it practically or physically, but at least we're able to do it for sure spiritually, because season will change.
Yeah.
Right?
One thing I could say about you guys, like for sure, like I love, the top couple times I've been around you, me and you have been in seasons where we work together. We've been together like 24/7. I love the healthy conflict you guys have.
Yes. Oh
Like
my.
you guys don't hide
I've never
from
seen it better.
Like sometimes if I'm here or if I'm riding with you, you show it, and I'm like, yo, because it's like I haven't seen that. Like we don't see that growing up.
But you
with our
also see that
parents.
it's true. But you also see the other side of it. I think we see the argument from our parents' side, but we don't see the resolution after.
You never
it.
see the
And
resolution.
so like we've been able to see the resolution after a fight, and I think that helps us to see that healthy conflict. And when we go into marriage and or other relationships, we know how to deal with conflict in a healthy way, because there are definitely unhealthy ways to deal with conflict.
Yeah.
For sure.
But
So yeah, that's definitely.
so I really,
nice to see.
we really appreciate just like you showing that real and raw and openness, and you could just tell that their everyday is normally just like that, how they are. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think we try also we try it to be a bit intentional as well too, and then if somehow Trevor and I happen to, which we try not to, when the kids are around, but just coming back together and then just making sure that apologies are exchanged, but then they also get to see it, because life comes with conflict, and the big piece is how you resolve those conflicts and still to be able to move on, right? And at the end to know that your husband or your wife can never be your enemy. We're not enemies, and if one person lose, you both lose, and it's not really a winning contest. And just knowing that you are one, right? And just forgiving each other more so, if anything, and forgiving each other and knowing that Christ has done that for us, and always looking out and thinking the best of each other. And just maybe what the word that I want to use is giving the person the benefit of the doubt. And if there's any, for whatever reason, a thought that may cause conflict and argument that's not resolved, trying to have that open conversation so it doesn't lead to that.
I think a good example of this too. I think I can't remember how long ago it was, but it might have been in the fall last year. I think like I just kind of yelled at you. Remember when
I think
I
you're
yelled?
frustrated.
Yeah. So I yelled at her, but the problem with
Your
that.
voice was a
So
bit more than what it's
yes.
supposed to be.
And like I
Wasn't
You
even-
barely
know
yell.
you guys know the volume that I speak with. So this mic wouldn't even do me any justice the way I
Wow.
yelled. But anyway, so I yelled, which was at Mercy, which was really bad. But what made it even worse, like all three of the kids were there. And I think this is the first time they've seen that. Right? So I think maybe not long after, I literally had to like apologize with everyone in sight because it was that bad. It's one thing for like Mercy and I are having like a conflict or a disagreement, and we raise our voices to emphasize our points, but the fact that the kids were there, all they know is like I yelled at their mom,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it's still engraved in their head. So so obviously like I apologized to them um, in person, and yeah. So sometimes you just have to do those things where
Yeah.
you have to apologize. You have to kind of keep the peace and just yeah, like be vulnerable, right? Like apologizing and asking for forgiveness is a strength, and it's something that when you're in marriage, like you see the need for it, and you see both side of the coin. You see the need for asking for forgiveness, and you also see the need like when your spouse or your kids comes and asks for forgiveness, like they haven't asked for forgiveness yet because of course they don't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
But you have to model that, right? Like and it's not just doing it because you want to model it, but doing it because you want the relationship and the marriage to go deeper, right? You want to develop that muscle of asking for forgiveness and repenting whenever you step out of line in your marriage.
Wow. How did you guys how did you guys introduce Christ to your kids? Because the way you like have these guys on a good schedule in terms of all the day-to-day stuff, but you always bring it back to like, hey, we're reading the Bible at the end of the night, we're doing this. So how was the introduction? Because you're a pastor, you've been in church, you guys' faith has grown over the years. How did you guys introduce Christ to your kids?
I think that's a good question. I think because Christ is the center of our lives, then it just became a natural thing to do because they came in knowing that this is what we do. So it wasn't anything, I guess, hard to do. It's like you move to a new country, or you end up staying with the family, and this is the routines that the family do. Eventually, it become part of your routine, and so from us as early age, in the morning, my routine is we get up, we pray, we read our devotion. As we go into bed, we do that, and so because of that, it's part of their routine. So over the years, even Jonathan, if some days, which I've tested them, and I'm just quiet, trying to put them to bed, and all of a sudden, somebody was like, "Hey, we didn't do our devotion."
Oh.
So I'll be reminded, or I'll wait, because it's always, the question will be, once we've done the devotion, and I say, let the prayer warrior start. So somebody else will start first, and I'll be quiet. And then somebody will start to pray, because it's become what you do. Just like how you get up in the morning, you brush your teeth. It's become part of your routine. So it hasn't been and over so that's how it was, because it was part of the routine before they came in.
Yeah.
And that's what they've always known. So Sarai, I did it with her, and when Gabriel came along, and then of course when Jonathan came along, it became what we do. So that's what they've known. But more so as they are growing now, we've been very intentional.
Yeah.
Because we want to, as you've grown up, and you look back, and there's some things in life that if you saw it this way, or you would have done it this way, or even the other way around is that because this is the way that you've lived, and this is the fruit that have come out of it. So I know better, and I will want them to also see that. So it's more of because of that, that I'm intentional to do the things that I had, the spiritual things that Trevor had practiced, I had practiced, to put that in them, but also be even a bit more consistent and push it. Because I've seen the fruit of that consistency and that fruit of walking with God and surrounding them with godly friends or godly mentors, as you guys have been, how that has shaped my life over the years, and it has shaped Trevor's life, but and I guess kept us away from headaches, many headaches that could have happened if those things were not happening. So it's routine. And it goes back to how I was raised. I grew up with a grandmother, and I think some people have heard my story. I grew up with a grandmother, and as far as my memory can serve me, as a 3-year-old, I would go out and play, and then I come back, and every time I came back, and however happened to be, my grandmother would be praying, but she was also very diligent and made sure we went to church. And so my upbringing pretty much was like that. And I think as I grew, even 14 years of age, somehow I thought that that's how life was for everybody in their home, because that was just what I knew. And then your values or things, your experiences change, and you get to realize that's not really the case for most people. But that was my growing up, and I thought, well, that's what you do, that's what everybody else is doing. So that's pretty much what we have. But the big picture is that it's our routine, and that's just how life is. And if that's just how things are, eventually what you introduce is what they become. But more so being also intentional, because we have a bigger picture. A bigger picture. I
I
guess.
think too, what we have done in terms of like helping their spiritual formation a little bit, I think just way back up from where Mercy started, like even when they were in the womb, like man, we would like pray for them, lay hands on Mercy's tummy, and sometimes when you're praying for the kids and they're in the tummy, like you would see like extraordinary movement with these kids. Like they would be like, am I right? Like as you're praying for them, like you would see like they're moving in the tummies. Like when I say moving, like you can literally see like feet poking out, hands like pushing, and this is just June times of praying for them. So like we have been praying for them from the time they were in the womb, or even before they were in the womb. Like so, and so their spiritual formation has been formed from the time they were in the womb. And just seeing how like as they're coming out of the womb, it's like they're just you know prayer and modeling like the spiritual discipline that you need has been going on from the time they were born. So Mercy does a fantastic job of kind of leading the kids in devotion. I think a few weeks ago I walked in the room and Gabriel was reading. I was like, Gabriel, like the Bible is a great book to help you with your grammar and your reading skills, because it helped me a lot, because I was like, the Bible like improved my reading so much. So and then I think Mercy said, oh yeah, I read an article or something with someone said, I can't remember what she said exactly, but she kind of took what I said and even made it bigger, like amplified even more, because it's true, right? So that was hopefully like he grasped what I was trying to say, because and that it will improve his reading practically while he's also learning the Word of God. So yeah, just to see them like this morning, when Jonathan was little, he's always been carrying like this small little New Testament, the White Testament. Maybe he got that when he was dedicated. So he's been carrying that in his back. So I think now he said, "Oh, I don't want this small Bible anymore. I want a big Bible." so so this
He
morning,
wanted to take it to school.
yeah, so he wants it. So he wants. He's like, yeah, I want to take it to school. So like as I'm dropping Mercy, she's like, oh, can you make sure you put his Bible in his bag for him, because he's gonna ask for it, or he's gonna say you didn't put my Bible in my bag. So when I got back home, she already called me to say, oh, don't worry, he already put it in his bag.
Wow.
So just little practical things like that, like like it's all helping the kids to understand the importance of the Word of God. And as Mercy said, having like leaders and teachers to kind of emphasize that as well.
Yeah.
That too.
I guess just switching gears a little bit, it's beautiful to watch just like the foundation that you guys have built for your children, and then you guys speaking about the foundation that has been built in yourselves. Like how over the last 10 years have you grown and changed as individuals through all the change that has happened, I guess, in the beginning of your guys as an
12 years.
individual?
12 years.
12
right?
years, yes,
12
sorry,
years.
12 years. But I feel like in the past 10 years probably has been
Yeah.
the most change. And then the dating part was like your first 2 years or something.
How has it, how have we changed in the past 12, 10 years?
Yeah.
I think we've obviously gotten to know each other. No, they say the first 5 years of marriage is the tough times, or just getting to know each other and differences and all the other things that life comes, and you kind of you pass the 5 years and you build some strength to continue. A few things I've learned from Trevor. I think my personality, if you probably will you admit, was it's more
Straight shooter.
straight and yes and but I've learned, and where Trevor is more laid back, and so I think it's just trying to, I guess, appreciate each other's differences, which I've learned over the 10 years, and open communication, learning to respect each other has been a big, just loving each other. But open communication, I think, has been one of the things that we've built up over the years for me. And I said it in the sense that because I'm a straight shooter, if there's an issue, I want it to be talked about and I want it to be solved right here and right now.
Yeah.
Whereas I've learned with Trevor, it's not the case. So I've learned over the years to, okay, take time, think about it, talk to Trevor. This is what's going on. I want us to sit down, find time. So then also get him to think about it. And then we set time to come back and talk about that. So those pieces have helped me not to, and that it's okay not to have the answers right there, right then. And so it has helped. I think it's helped our marriage. It's helped me. And yeah, just a little bit of layback, because it was just that if things needs to be done now and it needs to be done now, I think it's just, I don't know, maybe the way my personality type, but it needs to be done. Things needs to be put here and it can be moved here. But I've learned to really realize that it doesn't change the big pieces in life, and just, it comes down to accepting each other's differences and using those to leverage and, I guess, make life, even if anything, better for you, for us both. And in doing so, I guess don't worry about the things that really doesn't break me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was the question?
Like, how have you guys changed over the past 10 years as
Yeah.
individuals?
I think we're more like we become more of like good teammates. We're a good 1-2 punch now.
Kobe and LeBron.
Yes.
Kobe and LeBron. Sorry. Kobe and Shaq.
So who's Shaq and who's Kobe? Mercy. I think Mercy.
1A and 1B.
Yeah,
they're
1A
both
and
they're
1B.
both amazing.
That's it.
Yeah, I think we've learned definitely, like, we have to be a team. We have to be good teammates to each other first.
Yes.
Because there's so many things that we're trying to navigate through with kids and life and ministry and family and work and everything else. So we've learned to kind of respect and love each other's difference. Because as Mercy said, like early on, it was challenging because Mercy is one way and I'm another way. And in the beginning, those were two like we were miles apart in terms of how we operate. Not saying like laid back and lazy is two different things. So it's like just, like Mercy, there's things that we need to get done, but Mercy has her way of getting it done and I have my way of getting it done. But in the end, it gets done. But I think the problem was like we wanted each other to do things. I wanted her to do things my way. Where it was like, okay, let's relax. We'll get it done, but we can do it in a relaxed form. Mercy's like, no, we got to get it done. and we got to get it done now.
Yeah.
Right. So, but I think over the years, we've learned that, okay, you have your responsibility. I have my responsibility. If I don't do what I'm supposed to do, then it's not going to work, because then her stuff is relying on my stuff to get done, and vice versa. So if one person is doing their stuff and the other person is not doing what they're responsible for, then it's not going to work. Like, we're not going to be good teammates anymore. So we've learned pretty well. We've learned to be good teammates to each other, working together.
Nice.
And it took a while, because early on we used to had multiple discussions where we needed to have third party come in to kind of help us navigate through like simple communication differences.
Yeah.
Like, I would share what I have to share, and then the third party would say, "So Mercy, this is what Trevor is trying to say."
It's a mediator, right?
A
So as you said,
mediator.
first 5 years.
So do you understand what he's saying? Like, no. Do you understand what he's saying? Do you understand where he's coming from?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, yes, but it's like, no, not but. Do you understand what he's saying? So like early on, it took us a while to kind of get through those differences. Like, this was way beyond cultural differences and all that stuff. This is like, we have so much
Personality type.
personality
That's
types,
it,
right?
yeah.
And I think over the years we've kind of like we've come to respect that we're both different and respect each other's difference and personality. And now we don't see it as a kind of a weakness. We see it now as like, no, it's complementary, and it's it's benefiting us. Like, the kids Mercy might want the kids to boom, 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 boom to get their things done. I was like, no, like, they can do this for a couple of minutes and then they'll go and do it happily, right? Because they got to finish their show. So, right. So yeah, maybe they'll go to bed 10 minutes later, but at least they go to bed with a smile on their face. Right. So yeah, so I think we've definitely, for 12 years of marriage, we've gotten
come a long
older,
way.
a little bit
Older.
older, which is great.
More gray hair.
We've gotten gray hair. Like, can you remember, like, when I was all like the cool hair? Now
More
it's all
wisdom.
gray.
More
So
wisdom.
so yeah, we're so happy that we're able to grow together for the last 12 years. And I feel like we're just barely understanding what marriage is. Like, we've just scratched the surface of marriage.
Wow.
Rapid
This was
fire.
amazing. Amazing. Okay, before we end, we have some rapid fire questions for you. This is great. I didn't even know we had this.
Yes.
Okay, so who is the better cook?
Who is a better cook?
Mercy's the only cook in the house. I wouldn't say she's the better cook. She's the only cook in the house.
Oh my goodness.
The question was, who was a better cook?
Mercy's the better cook.
Okay.
So who apologizes first after an argument?
Ooh.
That's a good question.
Wow, who does that?
I think we both are quite good with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only after getting our point across, but I apologize. Yeah, I think we both have strong opinions. And the thing with Mercy and myself, like, I think one of the things that maybe surprised or shocked Mercy, maybe Mercy figured out, like, even quiet, laid back guys have strong opinions. So maybe that might have been that might have thrown Mercy off early on. But sometimes, so yeah, but apologizing, I think we both kind of, if you're in the wrong, you just apologize.
And the last one, who is more romantic?
That would be me. Or Mercy can disagree. I don't know. She can disagree and then explain.
It's Trevor.
That's amazing. There's so much we could talk about, but we're gonna wrap this up. One thing I want to say, I'm pretending like they're not here.
Yes.
One thing I wanted to say is that I love these conversations because I hope for the audience that are watching, it makes couples like get back to the point of like, oh, we need to like reorganize ourselves in terms of we need to date each other. We need to like communicate better. We need to do all this stuff. That's one of my hopes for people that are watching this, to, if they're going through hard times, if they're going through a rough patch, they can hear you guys' story and just realize like, wow, like maybe we can like work through it. Like we heard their ups and downs. Maybe we can work through it as well, right? So just hearing you guys talk, that's just my prayer for the people that are watching that. I pray that they realize that marriage is a beautiful thing, because a lot of times stigma is like, marriage is prison, but it doesn't have to be. So
Yeah.
we
And there's definitely
appreciate it.
ups and downs
Yeah.
to marriage and the dating phase and
Yeah.
how we eventually get there. And a lot of the times we see just the end picture of how marriages are, but we don't know how they started. And so just a snippet of a relationship, an example of things don't always go as planned. But if you are trusting in God and He's leading you and He's guiding you and you're following His will for your life, then things are going to end up wonderful. So, and this is a great example
Yes.
of that.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, we appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to end this one, but
Yeah.
it was a great one.
Yes.
Any last things you want to say? Any advice you want to give to married couples, young couples,
ones,
all of
older
that?
ones,
Older
middle.
ones, you name it. Anything that's not your heart.
I think just pretty much what you both have said and what Jeanette said, putting God first, putting God first and letting Him lead you, eventually it will. Life is hard in itself. Life has seasons, and so does marriage. There's seasons, and in the seasons, there's the good times and then the bad times. But the one thing that remains is Christ. And if you put Christ first, then in the hard and in the lows and the highs, He will remain, and you will get through the storms of life. In this case, the storms of including the storms of marriage. So I think just putting Christ first, and just trust God with all that concerns you, and eventually you make things work out. Yeah.
I think for me, what it says, like, marriage is a beautiful thing, but it's also a humbling thing as well, because, we want to be humble, and we want to be able to, we might say, oh, I want to have a servant's heart like Christ, or I want to like live a selfless life. But when you enter into marriage, you have to live a life of servanthood, a life of being selfless, because then you're committing to serve someone for the rest of your life, and not just that person, but then when kids come, like, you're also the same commitment that you make to your spouse. You also that covenant that you make with your spouse is also extends to your kids as well. So marriage is difficult. So people who are, in that season where they're entering into marriage, like, they really need to like build up their muscle for marriage, and just know that there's going to be lots of unexpected things that will happen in marriage, that you just have to be able to navigate through, and that you just have to trust God that He's going to give you the wisdom and strength to do so. But once you step into marriage, like, God will give you all the tools to face whatever challenges will come your way.
Amen. Amen. Well, Juxtaposition crew, you guys know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. Do you want to plug your church, your new church that you're at? Where can people find your church? What's the website? Anything. Janet is dying over here. Sorry.
I am. I kept it together for the whole episode.
Yeah, personal plug. So we just took the lead position at a church called Cornerstone Christian Fellowship. So we're located in the Tobico South area. So just right off Royal York and Evans. You can check out our website at gcccornerstone.org, and you'll find lots of information about our church there. So come check us out if you're in the neighborhood, and just say, hey, I come to check you out because I watched the Juxtaposition podcast.
Amazing. Well, we're the Juxtaposition crew, and we're out of here. Peace.
Hey everybody! Gabriel! Go on YouTube and search up Juxtaposition on YouTube that my parents got interviewed on. Go watch the video on Juxtaposition that my parents get interviewed. Bye. And make sure to watch Sonic video. Sonic 3. Bye.